Live from the campus of Westfield State University, this is 89.5 FM, WSKB, Westfield. Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Westfield Bank. For more than 160 years, Westfield Bank has been an important community presence and commercial leader in the Pioneer Valley. With convenient full banking services in Westfield, West Springfield, East Longmeadow, Agawam, Feeding Hills, Springfield, Southwick, as well as Enfield and Granby, Connecticut, visit us on the web at westfieldbank.org. We thank the generosity of our underwriters. For more information, please contact the Westfield State Foundation at 413-572-8646.
Do not adjust your radio dial. It is not Friday. It is Tuesday. Wow. But Bob's not here. Mr. Plaz is feeling a little under the weather this morning, so we figured we'd have a little fun.
His coffee made it in.
The coffee made it in. Yes, Bob, your coffee is here. Due to someone who wasn't paying attention to the official count in the studio this morning, I brought in 4 coffees, just as you always do. So Bob, we're thinking of you this morning.
Yes.
Yes.
Not feeling well.
No. So we'll give him a day off, a well-deserdeserved rest. Stay in bed, Bob. This is JPEG Luca. We're going to keep things.
I guarantee he's not up listening to us right now.
No. And that's Pete Poles on the other side of the board today. We will be having our regular segment with Dr. Kevin Coughlin in the 7 o'clock hour. Mm-hmm. So we look forward to that. And then coming up in 8 o'clock, we'll have the usual.
Ken's Den.
The
Tuesdays,
usual
8 to
cast
10.
of, the usual suspects. I
think he's got Dan Paquette in here from the library.
That's kind of cool.
Yes.
Yeah, I like Dan. Dan is fun. And we
I don't think he doesn't. I don't think he realizes yet that he does know Robert Plass with him, though.
Well, what was it?
But Kathy will be here, so he'll be fine.
Yeah, he'll be. Oh, he's always fine. He's fine by himself. He's always got lots to talk about.
He's always been intimidated about the library.
Now, speaking of lots to talk about.
Yes.
Well, I'm kind of out of things, so it's your turn, Pete. What's going on?
This is pretty early. It's only 6:03. There's a lot going on. I mean, we're less than 5 weeks from the birthday celebration.
Yes, that's exactly true.
The big rat card is out all over the place for the schedule of events for the weekend.
There's a lot going on that weekend.
You think? Somehow I got to figure out how to cover as much as I can.
Yeah. And did you notice that there's a couple of candles out on the cake?
Oh, really? Yeah, there might be a few. It was a tough winter.
Well, yeah, it was. However, I think I saw my favorite picture of all time on Facebook.
What was that?
It was a guy carefully leaning over with a lighter trying to light the candle that's not working.
Oh, that's funny.
I thought that was great. So don't know who it was. Don't even know who posted it. Somebody showed it to me, and I thought it was great. So
that's funny.
To the guy who was trying to light the candle, thanks for trying, but it's still out.
As they say, this bud's for you.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, we'll go.
Lighter of the candles.
Yes.
We salute you, O lighter of the candles.
Yeah. So
if people get that throwback, you're doing pretty good.
Go to Westfield. Yeah, go to Westfield 350 if you want to find out what's going on. Westfield350.org, and find out what's going on that birthday weekend. It's going to be a lot. My focus is on Saturday. We're bringing a Beach Boys tribute band to the stage behind the Boys and Girls Club, or behind the middle school, or that field over there.
Yeah, that kind of triangle area.
Yeah, that's the place.
Mm-hmm.
And that'll be fun. That's just going to be a big gathering spot. That'll kick off, that show will kick off about 7 o'clock. We'll have 2 sets of wonderful music to ring in the summer, and followed by fireworks, one of the biggest fireworks displays you'll ever see here.
I think we're going to cover that on Channel 15 for those that can't make it. I know there's people that can't get out of the house, and people that are not ambulatory and stuff like that. So
I've watched fireworks on TV. It ain't the same thing.
I know, but if you can hear it go boom and then watch it on your TV.
But what if you're not near it?
Well, you'd be able to hear those booms throughout most of the town, I would think.
You're probably right.
Yeah.
But it is.
People were very appreciative that we did the New Year's Eve fireworks.
Yeah. That turned out well. I mean, that whole thing, there was a lot of planning that went into the whole first night thing. I mean, a lot of planning, and a lot of people helped put that together. But whenever you do an event like that, and a first-time event, you still cross your fingers and like, gee, I hope this works.
I hope people show up.
Yeah.
That was Harry's biggest thing. I remember Harry fretting about it. Like, I hope people show up, man. We got all this planning and all this stuff going on, and you never know if people are going to show up.
But that it happens anytime, especially when you have an outdoor event, and then you go and then you throw the weather wild card at it. And it was kind of rainy for part of that night, but it didn't matter. I think everybody had a good time.
Really cared, because I was surprised at the amount of people that stayed for the fireworks.
Yeah, well, I'm not surprised. That was the whole thing. People will always come out for fireworks. Even when I'm sick in bed, I got a neighbor that does. Without saying too close where it is, I have a neighbor that does fireworks every 4th of July.
Yep,
and he does quite an impressive display, and the whole neighborhood comes out for it.
See, that's cool.
Yeah.
The thing about that is, if everybody knows about it, then nobody usually complains about it, and it just it goes by the wayside, and people do their thing.
He says free beer, and no one complains.
Right.
Yeah, right. So, actually, that's not what he says, but
the neighborhood knows about it, and if the neighborhood knows about it, then you don't get the call to the police department, and that kind of thing don't happen. Yeah. That's all.
Well, don't tell people how to do something that's not quite above boards with the law. We don't want to encourage lawlessness.
No, but some things are nuisance complaints and some things are real deal. So,
yeah, you're right.
But you get the nuisance complaint when somebody doesn't get invited to the party.
Yeah, but what if they're annoying?
It's called sour grapes.
Yeah. Okay. Oh my!
So you have a big show going on this week that you've already started setting up for, right?
My goodness, yes, I do. We are bringing the Chicago Total Access Show to the Westfield Technical Academy Auditorium. That is going to be one heck of a show. That's to benefit, speaking of the police, the Westfield Police Auxiliary, and all the good stuff they do. We couldn't do the events that we do around town without the police auxiliary. These are mostly volunteers that are always out there.
Actually, they're all volunteers,
making sure that we're safe for these events. The concerts on the green,
the 350 weekend wouldn't happen.
350 weekend, the parades that we have. The fireworks that we have, not only in May but 4th of July when we do it then. All of those guys in the bright green vests, that's who helped keep us safe out there, and it's a big deal. So we wanted to do something special for them. So we had an opportunity to bring this show to town, and I am pleased to be part of the group that's doing that. So we'd still like to fill the auditorium. Tickets are still available. They'll be on sale the night of the show this Friday night if you just want to show up at 7. I think it starts at 7:30, but show up before 7.
What are the ticket prices?
Starts at $25. So but if you'd like to sit right down front, you can pay more and be a VIP. So simple as that. You can also find them at purplepass.com. Just go out to Purple Pass, click on the calendar on the left on April 12th, and scroll down till you see Westfield and the Chicago Total Access.
Yeah, that's going to be a fun show. And Tina Gorman was talking about if you really want to support your causes for the day, Bay State Noble Home Healthcare has their beer and wine tasting starting at like 5 or 5:30. So you can go over there for an hour and do some beer and wine tasting.
Not that we want to encourage overindulgence, but if you go there and drink quickly,
an hour's an okay time. So, it's and then you can
come over and watch a great show. What a great idea!
Come right down the street because the beer and wine tasting's at Toccoa, and then right down the street will be the Chicago Total Access at Westfield Tech. So you can make an evening of it. Go have an early dinner, go to the beer and wine tasting for a bit, and then come over and see Chicago Total Access.
Idea. Yeah,
that's a great date night.
It is. It absolutely.
None of us will be able to do that, but
Yeah, well, we're kind of busy.
Jennifer Gruska goes, I think you're going to be at Jay's event, but are you available to help us out because we're short of volunteers?
No.
And I'm like, I'm going to be at Jay's event. I committed to that a long time ago, like last fall.
We appreciate that. We appreciate that. Again, this is another thing that takes it takes a lot of people to put these things together. The people at the Vogue, Mooch and his crew in the culinary education department,
Chef Rogers and Miss Boizo and the kids.
They're going to be bringing out food for intermission, all kinds of wonderful goodies.
They have baked goods like you wouldn't believe.
And proceeds, if you purchase those, will go to that department. And I think it's going to be a good show. So that's going to be this Friday night at 7 o'clock. Does it say up there? So the show is at 7:30, but get there before 7.
Yeah,
and
you have a chance to get some baked goods and seats.
Absolutely.
You're buying your ticket buys a level. It doesn't buy your exact seat. So if you buy the upper level, you get a seat in the upper level. If you buy the lower level, you get a seat in the lower level. Only reserved seats are VIP up front, like
Correct.
The first 5 rows or something.
Yeah, the first few rows, depends on how many are sold, but the first few rows right down center, if you'd like to be there, you can get the VIP. Now, it should be noted that they are significantly more affordable than the Aerosmith VIP tickets.
Those are like a couple $100, aren't they?
No.
1,000?
No. For seats near the front row and a meet and greet with the band and a signed 8x10 color glossy photo, the prices start at $1,990.
Wow!
Who I like Aerosmith. I truly do. I saw them in the 70s a few times. No, it's not worth that much.
I saw them less than a decade ago at Mohegan Sun, and I think our tickets. We were on the beginning of the upper section, and I think our tickets were like 80 or 85.
No, so if you want to see,
you could buy 2 tickets for that.
Yeah, well, and my goodness, it's the tickets for big concerts are really kind of out of control, I think.
Yes.
Not only are the face value kind of high, you're not going to find anything good for under $100.
The resale's worse.
Yeah, because you'll find that the open market sells out quickly because there's rows and rows of people with telephones, cubicles, and credit cards buying tickets and then reselling them. And I don't want to mention any of them, but you can go online and find them everywhere. And what's even more insidious is you go online and type, I want to see Aerosmith in Springfield, and the search engines will direct you to those sites
because they pay for the advertising,
as well as the one that's actually doing the show. So you think you're buying from the show and you're not, and it's kind of annoying. We're working on trying to put together something a little more affordable here in town, a regular concert series event.
Yep.
So,
and I mean, there's so many good things going on. Like Mark Auerbach has on Rory Schrade from 7 R's, Rory Ann Schrade, which is a chamber music series out in the Hilltowns.
That's kind of cool. I'm going to try and make it out there this summer.
We think we're doing a show from there this summer for ArtSpeed.
I'd very much like to do that because this is finding those little hidden gems is
and there's a ton of them in the
amazing.
Berkshires.
Yeah. And if we
Wham
can do
Theater.
that, if we can start doing that, arts builds tourism, attracts people that would never ever drive through your town.
Yep.
And they'll come back and they'll stay and maybe have something to eat and maybe go into that whatnot shop.
Well, they'll make it a date night. Like I took my girlfriend. She had never been out to Albany, right? You want to take the break and tell the story?
Cool. Yeah. Let's tell that story after the break.
Okay.
This is JPEG Luca. We're on Wow, that's Tuesday, covering for Mr. Plass, who's a little under the weather this morning. That's Pete Coles on the other side of the board. We'll be back right after this.
I don't want you to misunderstand me. I just want to say what's on my mind. No need to hit me with an attitude, because I haven't got the time. I want you to know one thing is certain. I truly love your company.
WSKB is provided by the Barnes & Noble College Bookstore in the Ely Campus Center, offering Westfield State t-shirts, sweatshirts, and gift merchandise, all of your academic needs, and offering textbook materials in new, used, ebook, and rental formats. Available at the bookstore on campus or online at westfieldstate.bncollege.com.
Underwriting for community radio is provided by the YMCA of Greater Westfield. Every day, the YMCA strengthens the community through programs and services focused on youth development, healthy living, and social responsibility. For all the Y's many programs and services, visit us on the web at www.westfieldymca.org. The YMCA, 67 Court Street in downtown Westfield. We're more than a gym. We're a cause. We thank the generosity of our underwriters. For more information, please contact the Westfield State Foundation at 413-572-8646.
Wednesday mornings from 6 till 8, it's Tina Gorman with Wake Up Wednesday.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB. Live from the campus of Westfield State University, this is 89.5 FM WSKB Westfield.
And this is JPEG Luca with Wow, It's Tuesday, sitting in for Bob Plass, who's a little under the weather this morning.
No, it's Wow, it's Tuesday with Bob Plass.
Well, we did bring in his coffee.
Yes.
So, for the record, Bob, your coffee
Your coffee's
is waiting.
here, yeah.
Yes, okay.
He'll watch this later and he'll go, they got a coffee for me? What great guys. You know he's going to say that.
I know. Well, it's okay. Yeah, we'll go with that. I just wasn't thinking when I got an extra coffee.
It's early, Jay.
But it shouldn't be for me.
I know that's true.
You know, this is lunchtime for me. It's like, what's up with that?
So our research department is chiming in this morning. Danny's out there and listening.
Yes. Hey, good morning, Danny.
Good morning, Danny.
Nason. Yeah.
We should have given him a heads up. He probably would have showed up for a little bit.
Yeah,
I'm coming
we
in
will
late.
next time,
I'm coming
yeah.
in an hour late.
Yeah.
Artworks Westfield is going to be having a images and word poetry contest along the Westfield Poetry Trail in downtown Westfield. This is the second year they've done this.
And it's fun. I'll tell you what, I got to say, the folks at Artworks, it's began as just a little grassroots arts organization here in town, and they've grown to do some wonderful things here in downtown that not only include music, but arts walks and little busker festivals, and they're all things that just take a lot of people to put together, and they're doing it well. Mm-hmm. So that's great to hear. And we're all about, as we said earlier, it's those kinds of things that bring people into town, and make it exciting and make Westfield an interesting place to hang out.
So the setup for this is there's going to be pieces of art hanging in different places, and I'll give you the list. It's Blue Umbrella, Circuit Coffee, Bud Suds Soapery, Two Rivers Burrito, Bud Suds Soapery.
Is that a new one?
It must be. I've never heard of it
Bud
before.
Suds Soapery.
Two Rivers Burrito, Blended Vintage Marketplace, and Vivid Hair Salon. So what you do is you go to those locations, ask them where the artwork is, you take a look at it, or you suppose you could take a picture with your phone, and you write a poem based upon the artwork.
What a cool idea.
Yes.
And what do you do with that poem?
Poets and writers are advised to compose a poem inspired by your reaction to the piece. Entries should be dropped off at the location of each piece of artwork along the poetry trail. Poems can be submitted throughout the month of April. The final day to submit entries is April 30th. The artists who create each individual piece of art will select the winning poem. So the artist that creates the art, the visual art, will select the winning poem, and the author of that poem will receive a $25 gift card from the location hosting the artwork. Stations along the poetry trail, 6 winners.
That's a cool idea. Thanks to the folks at Artworks for putting that together.
Winners will be notified by May 11th. An artist and poet reception will be held later in May to announce the winners, award the pieces of art, and read the winning poems. Cool.
Buds Suds Soapery.
Yes.
I got to go downtown just to find that. I love the name.
Danny, where's Bud Suds Soapery?
I'm sure
He's
we'll
got to
find
know
out
because
shortly.
you know what? There's a little map here. Hold on.
There's a map.
There's a map.
Okay.
Danny,
hold the map up to the camera.
I think Danny just. Well, you know what? Go to Artworks Westfield, and you can find all the information on the anyways. Oh, come on! My phone keeps. I hate when my phone does this.
Oh, it doesn't turn the right way?
Well, and then it keeps bouncing back. Let's see.
you have it at the wrong angle.
Danny says it's right on School Street.
Oh, I do know where it is. Okay, you head down towards the Wings place, and you'll find it down there on the left.
Yeah, kind of behind Circuit Coffee.
Yeah. All right, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Mr. Nason.
It's right next to your namesake.
It's not my bakery, for the record here. No,
JP's Totally Baked Goods.
Yes, I love the name.
Your namesake.
I love the name, but never mind. I'm not going to speculate. It's just because for the record, I grew up in the 70s. We'll leave it at that.
Yes.
Yeah. So you went to Albany. Tell us about your Albany trip.
It was nothing special.
Albany can be special.
Well, my girlfriend came. She grew up in Wallingford, Connecticut. So she's a
Wally World. I know where that is.
She's a transplant to Holyoke because she moved in with her dad after a breakup, and so she really hasn't explored this area either. I mean, she was here when she's been here since a kid, visiting her grandparents and stuff like that. And she never really had explored. So I said, well, we're going to go on a date. I need to go out to Ollie's to buy some stuff. I got a coupon for 15% off my order. I need to buy a vacuum. And, places like that, you can always buy a decent vacuum for a pretty short.
You can go on late night TV and buy a vacuum.
For short dollars, right?
Oh, okay.
Short money, yeah.
Short dollars, yes.
Yes, exactly. So we drove out on Interstate 90, got to Ollie's and did our stuff, and then we drove back on Route 20.
That's a nice ride.
A nice leisurely drive back on Route 20. Stopped in Pittsfield for lunch, found a nice place called the Rainbow Cafe, Diner and Cafe. It's right by the railroad tracks up on South Street, I think.
Don't know. You're thinking of Stockbridge. That's Alice's restaurant.
No. This was the Rainbow Cafe. We actually went there, and the pizza
just a half a mile from the railroad.
Yes, I know.
Never mind.
And the pizza was incredible there. We had a good time. We were going to go to Murphy's, but they don't open until 4:30, and we were there a bit earlier than that, like around 2.
The Pittsfield is, I used to work for about 20 years, and starting in the 80s, I worked the Berkshire County area.
Yep.
And that was probably my favorite 20 years as a tech in the field. Just because they left me alone. It was me and one other guy working 3 territories worth of work. Nobody bothered us. We took care of our customers, and
yep.
It was a good 20 years up there, and the
Pittsfield's come a long way.
It has, because when I first went up there, GE was still flying, and then it just kind of took a nosedive. The only thing left was plastics, and even that got sold. There's still, I think it's Lockheed Martin that's left up there.
Yep.
And they bought the piece of GE that was the ordnance systems.
Defense systems.
Back in the day, they made transmissions for Bradley fighting vehicles, and they'd have one of these things, a mock-up, sitting out in the front of one of the buildings I used to drive by. The phalanx guns that they have on shipboard, phalanx guns. It's a giant Gatling gun that sits on a boat.
It's anti-aircraft, 50 caliber anti-aircraft.
And they built the frames and support structures for those in there, and that was cool. The fire control systems for them were built there.
Yep.
So it was really kind of cool to see all of these things that were built. And I used to walk through the factory floor. I had to have
because you had machines in there.
Yeah, I had to have safety glasses and a hard hat. I said, sure, I'll put that on as I slow down and walk through through the factory.
Take me slowly to your leader.
And I'm trying to think today. I'm not sure they'd even let me in a place like that today. Of course,
you'd have to be cleared.
Yeah, I'd have to have safety clearance and everything. So maybe what I'm talking about now, I shouldn't be talking about. I don't know.
I think that's widely known up in the area. But now, with the big factories going away, it's become an arts town.
Up in Pittsfield, yes.
Yes.
Yeah. For a while, Arlo Guthrie, who doesn't live far from there, had a little music studio downtown. One of my customers, his wife ran that studio, was kind of the studio manager or whatever. So we would hear all kinds of tales. His whole thing was about young artists, giving them an opportunity to come in and record or play and collaborate to write music. So I thought that was just a great thing. I don't know if it's still up there. I'm sure it didn't have Arlo's name on it, but I can remember hearing stories about all of the people that would come through the studio up there.
I mean, there's a Colonial Theater, which is Berkshire Theater Group.
Colonial Theater was a restored vaudeville theater.
I know. I remember when they were working on it, when they got the grant, and this was
That was in the 80s.
20 years ago?
Yeah, it was in the late 80s, early 90s that was revived. It was an old it was a framing shop. The guy that owned the framing shop and owned the building had preserved everything behind his shop. The shop was in the front, but all of the seats from halfway down and the stage and the balcony areas, he preserved it all. He didn't do a darn thing to it.
You could say damn.
Okay. And but left it as it was. So when it was restored, it looks just like it did 100
Oh, I know. I
years
saw
ago.
A Christmas Carol up there this year.
Oh,
And
okay.
it was so much fun. We had such a good time up there.
And here's A Christmas Carol, I think it was 2 years ago, had one of James Taylor's kids in it, and James Taylor did a cameo in the show.
Yep.
So that was kind of cool.
Eric Hill played Scrooge this year, and he did an awesome job. He just did a great
There's
job.
a lot of artists in the Berkshires, a lot of famous names up there, and you know, we're not far away. And I think we can.
Oh, it's only 45 minutes.
Yeah, we can partake of some of the wonderful art that's up there. And what I'm hoping is that some of the people, we were talking about the 7 R's, which is up, you know, halfway in between here and there in the back roads. We're hoping that some of the people from there will migrate this way and find there's a lot more in the hill towns and in Westfield. And west of the river, everywhere from the river to the Berkshires.
Oh, there's
going to be
so
some
many
wonderful things.
There's is it Huntington has a theater, a small theater that Mark was talking
Chester
about.
does.
Chester Theater.
Chester has
That's-
a wonderful theater.
and then there's also Barrington Stage up in Pittsfield, which
Yep.
does its own thing.
Yeah.
You know, so there's so many things. There's the Jacob's Pillow dance.
If you like dance.
Yeah, there's there's concert series all up through there.
I've never been to Jacob's Pillow.
We drove by it on Route 20.
Yeah, I see it. I've been by it hundreds of times. I've never stopped for a show, and that's something that I will do.
Yeah, so Danny also reminds us that Articulture's coming up as well.
What's
For
happening? Yeah,
artworks.
Danny, you got to come on. You got to come over and visit us some Friday morning and talk about that before
May
Articulture.
3rd is the opening reception from 6 to 8, and the Articulture show is May 4th from 10 to 5.
Okay,
And
maybe
I think that's where are they holding it this year? Probably it was last year. Was at the Women's Club. I know that.
yeah. I'm bringing I've got. Yeah,
Oh, it's a Church of the Atonement.
Okay, yeah, they moved it over there a couple of years ago, and that's been a success too. Yeah, I've got shows all the rest of this month on Fridays. So except for the 19th, I think the 19th, Friday the 19th, I'm bringing the Westfield High School Drama Club into the studio. They have their spring show coming up.
What are they doing?
I don't know.
You don't
We're
know?
going to find out. It's a surprise. This is JPEG Luca. That's Pete Coles on the other side of the board. We're going to jump into a break. And on the other side of the break, I have no idea what we're going to do. So come on back. It's a surprise.
been an important community presence and commercial leader in the Pioneer Valley, with convenient full banking services in Westfield, West Springfield, East Longmeadow, Agawam, Feeding Hills, Springfield, Southwick, as well as Enfield and Granby, Connecticut. Visit us on the web at westfieldbank.org. We thank the generosity of our underwriters. For more information, please contact the Westfield State Foundation at 413-572-8646. Wednesday mornings start off right from 6 to 8 a.m. with Tina Gorman and Wake Up Wednesday.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB. Live from the campus of Westfield State University, this is 89.5 FM WSKB Westfield.
Pete Coles on the other side of the board. Wow, it's Tuesday, and
It's Tuesday
and
with
nobody
Bob
heard
Glass.
the beginning of that.
I know, because I hit the button and it didn't take.
Yeah, that's okay. Saturday in the Park is probably one of the most famous Chicago songs. It gets
Chicago
the most
when it
radio
was the
play.
full Chicago.
It was Chicago. It was
Not when it
that
became
was
the rock band.
after Chicago Transit Authority, but before the later Chicago.
Yeah, when it became a straight rock
it was.
band.
It was less horns later in life.
Right,
But-
and I miss the. You know me, I'm a sucker for a good horn section.
Yeah.
Like
And-
Still Kicking, I love.
Yep. Still Kicking is a local band featuring Mr. Pat Kennedy of the
Yep.
Westfield High School Band.
And there's other bands, Tower of Power, all those big bands with a 4 or 5 piece horn section. Just they're awesome sounding.
Well, this is a 10-piece band, and Chicago. We're talking about the show this Friday night, Chicago Total Access, which it didn't hit me when I first saw the name Chicago Total Access. Is the same
CTA.
acronym as CTA as Chicago Transit Authority.
They were smart.
Yeah, yes, they were. But they're out of the Boston area, and they're,
really?
yeah, it's a great band, and we're going to be. I worked with them out on the Cape in January, so I've already had a preview.
Yep.
So I think you're going to get a good show. We got some more Chicago coming up, and one of the less known. It's you hear it on the radio, but not as much because it's a 6-minute song, right?
Yeah. Well, like they said, I watched the Queen movie, Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah.
You get Mike Myers as the record. Nobody plays a 6-minute song.
Yet Bohemian Rhapsody was played
they
often.
they wouldn't play it originally.
Well, as soon as
They wouldn't release it as a single, and
Right.
And the story goes, I don't know if it's totally true, but Freddie Mercury went on with a couple of his buddies in BBC Radio, and he said they won't release it as a single because it's 6 minutes, and the DJ is like, well, we have to listen to this. And
Name a few long songs, classics, that were played on the radio, and I can hit a few of them right off the top of my head.
Magic Carpet Ride, isn't that like 5
that's
minutes?
not that long. It's a long song. I think it's 4 something, which back in the 60s, if it was much more than 3 minutes, you wouldn't play it.
Right.
But once you got into 70s, now the album-oriented stations started, the FM side started to grow, and you would get longer songs.
Kashmir.
But on the you'd hear that on the FM side. But on the AM side, one of the first ones of the 70s, Layla, from Derek and the Dominoes.
That was almost 6 minutes.
And that was on a 45. I don't think I've ever seen a 45 with a longer song on it. I couldn't believe
Yeah, really? How
they
they
were
could
able to
fit that?
fit that on a 45 record.
And then there's MacArthur Park is really long,
I know
right?
there's people out there going, what's a 45?
Right. MacArthur Park was really long, too.
Yeah, it is. That was a disco. That's now Inagata Davida.
Yep.
That goes on the list of songs the DJ played when he had to go spend
relieve
time in the
themselves,
bathroom.
yes.
That was a
Freebird.
real one. Freebird was a long one. One of my favorites, because I used to hear it all the time. I used to, in the 70s, practice with a band, a singing group out in Glastonbury with a half-hour ride home. And my ride back would always be Peter Frampton. From Frampton Comes Alive.
Oh, yeah. I can't remember the name off the top
Do
of
You
my head.
Feel?
Yep.
Do You Feel? Yeah. And that was one of my favorites. Still is one of my favorite long songs on the radio.
Well, apparently that was standard issue. Frampton Comes Alive. If you were a teenager in the suburbs,
you were required to have that album in your collection, and we still call. And there's a whole bunch of people out there asking, what are they talking about? But there's a whole bunch of people out there that know exactly what I'm talking about.
My friend Carrie said American Pie.
American Pie, another good long
Carrie
one.
Ramos,
Yes. But Peter Frampton had a big afro with a purple light lit up behind it. Yeah, when in our shows we have a specific gel, a color that we call Frampton, so, because of that. Yeah, hey, I need a Frampton gel, and we all know what that means. That's funny. That particular shade of purple. Yeah,
that's funny.
Hey, let's go to another Chicago tune. This one's called Beginnings.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Comcast and Xfinity.com, offering Xfinity TV, Internet, home phone, and home security services. Information on all that Xfinity has to offer in the Westfield area is available online at Xfinity.com.
We thank the generosity of our underwriters. For more information, please contact the Westfield State Foundation at 413-572-8646.
It's Tuesday morning from 6 till 8. Wow, it's Tuesday with Bob Plass.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB. Live from the campus of Westfield State University, this is 89.5 FM WSKB Westfield.
Comprehensive dentistry at 14 convenient locations in Springfield, Chicopee, Longmeadow, West Springfield, Belchertown, East Longmeadow, Ludlow, Northampton, Greenfield, and Wilbraham, as well as 29 Broad Street in Westfield. Bay State Dental makes it a priority to help you achieve and maintain the healthy smile you deserve. On the web at baystatedental.com.
We thank the generosity of our underwriters. For more information, please contact the Westfield State Foundation at 413-572-8646. Discussions of local politics, events, happenings, and miscellany potpourri. Ken's Den, Tuesday, 8 to 10. Live from the campus of Westfield State University, this is 89.5 FM, WSKB, Westfield.
And this is J. Luca. Wow, it's Tuesday.
With no Bob Plass.
And that's Pete Coles behind the board. Mr. Plass is feeling a bit under the weather, so we figured we'd give him a break this morning. But
by the way, we got to tell him why we played that song.
Oh, Tina,
yes.
You're smiling now, aren't you?
Tina gave us hell in the break.
No, now
via
Tina
text
is
message.
just not patient. We were working on a big long list of long songs that were never played on the radio. Well, they were played on the radio, but Tina, we just hadn't gotten to that one yet.
She says her middle name is Jude, so there.
Oh.
That's why she's partial to that song.
And full disclosure, this is Dr. Kevin Coughlin, and what Tina wants, Tina should get.
Good morning, Kevin.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Tina, don't take any of this riffraff, okay? You deserve better.
Joining us in the right-hand seat or in the left as you're facing from the TV
Stage
camera.
left.
Yeah, stage right.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay. So, exit.
So I'm on stage?
You're on stage,
Yeah.
yes.
Very nice.
As you should be.
Yes, as I
You have the
should.
colored lights behind you. You're on stage.
Yeah.
Okay.
Somebody, and Dr. Kevin Coughlin, of course, of Ascent Dental, is here just to join us and give us something more interesting to talk about than listening to me all morning.
And what could be more interesting than talking about teeth? Let's be honest, okay? Could there possibly be anything more interesting? I don't think so.
Yeah, we're seeing you more and more in all of the things, all things broadcasting around Greater Springfield,
Yes.
which is kind of interesting.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I recognize that voice.
Yes.
So, and that's kind of cool.
Mass marketing.
Yeah, well, you got to do what you got to do.
Well,
Yes.
you're building a new brand.
A new brand, a new business, and it's like I'm 25 years old, but I like the excitement. I like the challenge.
I'll bet you can't do as many push-ups now that as you would when you were 25.
Well, when I was 25, I could do one, and now now that I'm 60, I can think about doing one.
I can get down there and I can go, whoa.
Oh yes,
That's about it.
oh,
Okay.
Yes.
When you wake up in the morning with aches and pains like me, my back is starting to feel a little better. You sit there and go,
It's interesting building a new brand. For most of my professional career, Bay State Dental was the company that I started in 1983. And after selling in November 2018, this new brand, Ascent Dental Care, is like starting all over again. And we just actually had a wonderful meeting. We had a speaker, Mr. Joel Daring, who's in the Volleyball Hall of Fame, and he spoke to our company, which is roughly 50 team members, on Friday, and it was about empowerment. What do employees, what do team members, what are they looking for in the workplace? And he gave a tremendous talk. He spoke to us for about 2.5 hours.
Wow.
And basically at the end, to summarize, not to take anything away from Deering
I thought
leadership.
this was going to be a long show.
No, but basically what he said is he said your employees, or what I like to call team members, they want to be empowered. They don't want to be micromanaged.
right.
They also want to know where is, I don't like the term leadership, but where is the CEO, the CFO, the COO? Where are they coming from?
what are
is
they
the
thinking,
cause? Right. What are they trying to accomplish? And the pushback against large corporations that sometimes have less than an altruistic plan of attack, and nothing against. There's great small corporations, there's great large corporations, and those corporations have financial and fiduciary pressures on them to meet the bottom line. But his statistics and his information and data seemed at least very interesting. We left that meeting, and I think my take was everyone really enjoyed it. Just people want to be listened to. They want to be able to put their 2 cents in. They want to be part of something rather than working for somebody.
Well, and if they feel that they're, suggestions, they see stuff that you wouldn't see on the higher levels. They see stuff that could be improved, and it's something you may not come up in an audit or an efficiency report or something like that. And you sit there and go, hey, that's a great idea. And if you recognize the employee that came up with the idea, they're gonna be an employee that stays with you in an era of changing jobs 6, 7, 8, 9 times in your life.
Well, out of the 50 employees, 48 are from the previous company, Bay State Dental. And what we did is we tracked our new clientele. And for our listeners, roughly about 190 new clients each month have been coming into Ascent Dental Care, and we were tracking the reason they left. The number one reason they left their provider, I found interesting, was they never got the same provider that they were going to. As groups get larger and larger, and more healthcare professionals are leaving the profession for a variety of reasons, you're getting the
rotating doc.
Yes. And it was interesting to just look at the data, and this data is only now roughly 6 months old, but consistently it was, I never know who the provider's going to be. I never get the same doctor. I never see the same employees. I just saw Mary. She was wonderful, and now Mary's gone. And some of that has nothing to do with the corporation.
It's all about the relationships that you have with your service provider. Yes. And I see that in my real job that, as most of you know, I work and have worked for a company with, happens to have a couple of X's in the name. They just were at either end of the name. But we won't tell you who it is. And
no idea.
No. Been there for 40 years. Uh-huh. And frankly, I'm proud to have been there for 40 years. And we talk about empowerment. We talk about that service guy who walks in the door and has a relationship with his customer. And they're in the field. They can be, they in fact, some of them haven't seen me. I'm their manager, and they haven't seen me for years. Not that they want to see me, but we talk on the phone.
So when you see a company that's been around successfully, not just around, but successfully around for 40 years, that leadership, that upper echelon, they must have known. They realized the importance to keep people. You have to allow empowerment, you have to avoid micromanagement, and you have to establish the relationships.
But how do you, now empowerment is a wonderful thing, but you can't let them loose.
Well, what are the boundaries that you...
What are the boundaries
you have to establish some kind of boundaries.
I medicate my group. And the more I medicate, the more they stay around, okay? But in all kidding aside, I think what you're saying, Jay, is there's boundaries. There's boundaries with everything. If you have absolutely no rules, you have chaos. Mm-hmm. But I think the most important thing in my 36 years of doing it is there's a mission. What is the mission? Do you actually live up to that mission statement? In Ascent Dental Care, Ascent Dental Solutions, and Ascent Laser Aesthetics, it's better care, better service, better results. Does that mean we obtain it all the time? Absolutely not. But I really believe for last night, 7:45 at night, patient calls down at the office. They have an emergency problem. That team knows that we came out to provide that relationship. When Mr. and Mrs. Smith go, my dentist, I couldn't reach. They weren't on call. I heard that you guys are open and that you'd be there, and we show up and we're there. That creates goodwill, not only with your, quote, customer or patient, but it creates that from the team around. They go, geez, we went that extra mile. And I don't mean me. I have to have someone there to support me. And that shows that they're committed, they're engaged, and they're trying to really achieve better care, better service for better results.
That's your team working together to get
Yes.
there. And
Yes.
that's important. You may not see the same guy, but you know somebody, you probably see him most of the time.
I'm going to tell you, it's humbling. My personal opinion is the people who come are more engaged with my team members than with me. Okay, I think
Well, 'cause
they're
they
more
see the
comfortable, right, when they walk
Yeah.
in and they see those same familiar faces at the front desk, whether they're a dental hygienist, a
Right.
clinical assistant, an administrator. It's that comfort. I like to think it was me, but when I look at the data, I honestly believe it's the support team that is perhaps more important than me.
There's more trust, and we talk about relationships, and that includes trust. Our customers trust our technicians more than anything. You know, they know this guy is here to
Well,
get
that's the
me
guy they
back up and
interface
running.
with. But
Yeah.
that's the guy they interface with all the time. Like the most person you're going to see at the dental office is the hygienist.
Mm-hmm.
If you can find a good hygienist and keep that hygienist, then you're going to keep going back to that office.
Well, the Westfield State here, where we are today, and every morning, as a matter of fact, happens to be one of my customers. And our two technicians here in Western Massachusetts are both named Chris.
Makes it easy.
So who's coming? Who serviced your machine? Well, Chris was here. So
Chris 1 or Chris 2?
Chris 1 or Chris 2. And and they're both female and they're both blonde. So
It makes it real easy.
yeah, right. Makes it so. But I have two parameters, two guidelines. You need to make a decision. You need something. You need to help making that decision. Think of two things: what's the right thing to do for the customer, and what's the right thing to do for the company. If you keep those two things in mind, chances are you're going to come pretty close to the right decision. Do it, make it so, and now you have a satisfied employee that feels like they have a handle on what they do every day.
They don't
have
need to call
control.
you for everything, and you don't go nuts by getting your phone ringing off the hook all day.
Right. I leave them, the last thing they want is me in their daily business.
So let me ask you a personal question.
All right.
Did you learn this over the last 40 years? When you started out, did you have that kind of knowledge and depth? Or do you think this came with experience? In other words, when I first started, I micromanaged. If you weren't here at 8:01, I was blowing a gasket. But as time went on, the testosterone left me. It became more or less, maybe the reason you aren't here at 8:01 is because there was an emergency at home. Or maybe you thought that we were supposed to start at 8:02. But the point is for me, it wasn't something that came natural. I had to learn it. And actually, I'm still trying it. I'm still learning.
It's tough to let go. And you want to think that you're going to make the best decision every day. But I've got technicians spread across New England and upstate New York. There's no way I'm going to watch them that close. There's no way I should have to. Now they also, I don't think I've had anybody there that's been working there less than 30 years. So they know their job. And I have to have confidence in that. In fact, they know their job in some cases better than I know their job. So I'm very much a subscriber to, I don't have to know everything, but I sure as heck need people around me that do.
Yeah.
And to answer your question, did that come in from day one? Well, day one I was a technician. And they told me, look, here's what you do. You're out in the field. You have to make day-to-day decisions. And I'm a young 20-something kid going, huh? Right. I didn't know how to do that. You learn it. You truly learn it. And it was empowering to be told that. It was like, holy cow, you're going to let me?
So that's been the culture all along then.
Yeah.
That's a good. I mean,
that's why the company's been there 40 years, and I think it also helps. You hit on an important point. You started as a technician. I know I started as a dental technician. I also worked as a dental assistant. I also worked as a dental hygienist. And this is obviously a generalization, but what I found is I'm a little more sympathetic because I know what it's like to be on the other side. I know what it is when the doctor looks at me and goes, like, what the heck are you giving me this instrument for? Well, I made a mistake. I don't need to have you rub it in my nose. I clearly know I gave you, instrument A, and it should have been B. And I see that we actually have two young individuals from STCC doing a 6-week rotation through our office. And these two are our dental assistants or clinicians, and they're just learning that trade. They're just learning it. And to me, what's so clearly obvious, it's new.
Yeah.
It's like the first time I came on this radio show, I'm looking at the microphone and I'm going, this isn't going to be good.
Well, no, you're talking in the wrong
good.
end of it.
Well, I would have appreciated if you guys had told me that earlier. But
No, we were having a good time.
you were having a good time, huh? But you learn, you get more comfortable and confident, and that goes on. And I think your clients or patients, they interpret that. A day doesn't go by where someone doesn't say, you two work well together. That means they are sensing that whether it's me and Roberto, me and Wilfredo, me and Amber, it doesn't matter who, there's that connection. They see that they're working well. And I think we see it on the radio, too. I think there's a nice chemistry when I listen to the three of you. You get along well, although you don't always agree. We know Bob is mostly wrong. He leans left, and I think the three of us lean right. Maybe so right
Jay,
that we're falling over.
Jay never divulges that.
He's too smart.
Yes, no, I know. The rest of us,
Yes,
Well,
yes.
I wouldn't go that far, but
He's too
okay.
smart.
Yeah.
But you were talking about getting used to things, and that's the reason that like kids in allied health are doing stuff at the senior center. They need that time of actually doing the job to do the job.
Yeah. No,
You can't you don't want a hygienist walking in the first day going and never having been a rotation, never done an internship.
that Northeast University with their co-op program, personally for me, I think it's the greatest thing. You're spending a year basically in your field to determine whether that's a profession that interests you.
You got to like what you do.
Yeah.
There's nothing more miserable than doing something that you...
But how would you know if you didn't
If you
have
don't
that
try it.
opportunity?
Right.
And at Northeastern, my daughter is graduating, our youngest, in a couple of weeks from Boston University. And she's been studying hotel management, event planning.
Yep.
Now, she's graduating in a few weeks, and she goes, Dad, I don't know if this is the career for me.
Oh.
So I beat her like any good father. I took everything away.
But
she's
that's
on the street right now. But once I got over that, I'm thinking to myself, why did it take you 4 years?
right.
But it's a difficult thing. I think in her mind, she's saying, geez, I feel almost like failing here. But in the real world, things happen. You're not comfortable, and you got to change course. And the sooner you change course, the better off you'll be.
When we come back from the break, let's talk about that. Let's talk about finishing college and going, no, that's not what I want to do.
Yeah.
It happens more often than you
Yeah.
think.
This
Okay.
is JPEG Luca. That's Kevin Coughlin. Pete Coles is on the other side of the board. Wow, it's Tuesday, and Bob is under the weather, so that's why you don't hear him. We'll be back right after this.
Waiting for the break of day.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Commercial Distributing Company of Westfield. Now in its third generation of family ownership, Commercial is one of the premier beverage distributors of Western Massachusetts. The Plasek family and the staff of Commercial Distributing wishes you good times throughout the year and urges you to drink responsibly.
Underwriting for WSKB's community radio programming is brought to you in part by Dunkin' Donuts, providing new handcrafted espresso drinks and all-day breakfast sandwiches. There's more to love with DD Perks, a loyalty program that's loyal to you. On the web at dunkindonuts.com and at several locations throughout Westfield, including the Ely Campus Center.
We thank the generosity of our underwriters. For more information, please contact the Westfield State Foundation at 413-572-8646.
Discussions of local politics, events, happenings, and miscellany potpourri. That's what you'll find on Ken's Den, Tuesdays from 8 till 10.
Live from the campus of Westfield State University, this is 89.5 FM, WSKB, Westfield.
25 or 6 to 4, a great Chicago tune classic. That's the short one you hear on the radio, yeah?
Right, yeah, I know.
Okay.
There's a long one.
Yeah.
That's a single version.
But
that's what you're going to hear on Friday night at Westfield Technical Academy.
in fact, you are. That's one of the songs they play, Connecticut.
You like how I tie that together?
Yeah,
Yes,
Chicago,
that was wonderful.
Chicago Total Access will be at the Westfield Technical Academy this Friday at 7:30. It's a benefit for the Westfield Police Auxiliary, but it's going to be a good show. Never mind who the benefit's for. Just come on down. Tickets.
Well, that's a good thing, too.
Well, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
But everybody benefits, right?
Everybody that shows up.
Correct.
Yeah, you're going to be there, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Good answer. Yes. Tickets are available over at Rocky's downtown, and they'll be available at the door, and they're on purplepass.com. So be there. That's Friday night at the Westfield Technical Academy.
Yeah, we've been talking about all the things going on around the city of Westfield.
There's a lot going on.
And you can't make them all. Like that night, if you want to make part of the Bay State Noble beer and wine tasting event, you could do that and then swing over to the concert. But, you could kind of squeeze them both in if you're really interested.
So you could,
one or the other.
You could drink a smile.
Yes. How nice is that?
So to speak.
Yes.
We were talking before the break. We're here with Dr. Kevin Coughlin, of course, of Ascent Dental, and Pete Coles behind the board. Thank you, Pete, for keeping us here and keeping us heard, as they say. And we were talking about before. When you graduate college as your daughter, I'm not sure that's what I want to do. And my son did the same thing. He went for neuroscience. That was his major. And then he came out, and that wasn't the job that he ended up with. But he'll be the first to tell you he learned so many skills outside of that focus that help him do his job today.
So it wasn't lost. It's just redirected.
Exactly.
Yes.
You learn a skill that doesn't necessarily... It doesn't mean you have to be in hotel management or event management or whatever. Now, we talked about event management. What does that entail? Off air, we were talking a little bit about that. And I like to manage the spectacle. I like to put on the shows that are downtown that are the green, or helping make first night happen, or bringing the fireworks and a Beach Boys tribute over here. Thousands of people will come out and enjoy that. That's a lot of fun.
Yes, it is.
It really
and
is.
And it takes a lot of work and a lot of expertise.
And it's a lot of headache and agita for somebody who's a little nervous.
Adija. Yes. And
Jay throwing the big words around.
Yeah, all you can simply
No, it's a
do
short
is,
one. There's not many letters in it.
You just support them. And I think as time goes on, for my particular daughter, she's been working since a freshman in this field. She's worked for a couple of country clubs. She's worked for some event planning firms in Boston. And it's not like she hasn't had experience. But you make a good point. Even though you may go in a different direction, there's things that she learned. And one of the things is how difficult it is to work with the public.
Oh,
Working with the public. I always say at the end of the day, I saw, let's say, 50 customers, 50 patients, 50 clients. There's always going to be 3 to 5 that you just strike out with.
Yep.
You try your best, but at the end of the day, you just can't satisfy everyone.
Yep.
And you just learn to say, you try your best, as sometimes those mistakes are mine. Other mistakes are, in my opinion, when Mrs. Smith or Mr. Smith says the last 5 dentists were terrible, you begin to say to yourself, what are the
Maybe I don't want
odds
this
that
one.
all 5 were terrible? And typically what I see is it's lack of communication.
I was, yeah.
Mrs.
thinking that.
Smith, in her mind or his mind, wants to do A and B, and the dentist wants to do C and D, and that communication is lost.
In the middle, they never shall meet.
Yes. They just,
Hey, listen.
sometimes it's time, sometimes it's lack of understanding and training, sometimes it's a combination of both. But that ability to communicate well with the public, I think, reduces the headaches and the stress.
13 years as a 911 dispatcher, I understand that more uniquely than anybody else. You cannot please everybody. And people think that you can do more than you can do. They have unrealistic expectations of what can be done.
Yeah, I have 2 favorite stories about communication, and one relates to the dental field. Is this person goes to the dentist, and over, and the dentist goes in, fixes a few things in the teeth, and the guy's still not happy, and comes back, fixes a few more things in the mouth. He's still not happy, and the dentist goes, well, what is it that's wrong? He goes, my big toe still hurts. So you've got to communicate. If you don't know what's broken, how can I fix it?
Right. In our profession, we call it the CC, the chief complaint. So Mary or Bill comes in, and just as Jay says, you see 5 different things. But quite honestly, with that new dentist coming in for training, I go, those 5 are there. You need to mention it. You need to communicate. But really, their interest is the 6th thing. The other 5 doesn't mean anything to them. They don't even care about it. What they want is this area. You have to address it. You got to address it medical, legally, the other issues. But time and time again, we say, tackle the chief complaint on that initial visit, because that's what they're there for. So in dentistry, many times, all Mr. and Mrs. Smith want is they want their teeth cleaned. Even though they have teeth that need to be removed, they need root canals, they need extractions, they need implants, what they really want is, I haven't had my teeth cleaned in a couple of years, just clean my teeth. And we get bogged down saying you need A, B, C, and D. The cost is F and G. And really, they walk out dissatisfied because they really just wanted their teeth cleaned today. We'll get to the other chief complaints down the road, but deal with the number one issue, and that comes through on new patient orientation. What are you here for? I want to get my teeth cleaned. Well, that's what we're going to do for you. And I see that over and over again, why Mr. and Mrs. Smith are leaving their previous office, not only just because they don't have the same clinician or same team member, but the other reason is no one addressed my chief complaint. Even though I think deep down those dentists were correct, these other problems are there, Mr. and Mrs. Smith want the chief complaint addressed right away.
But if they explain it and say, there's no treatment needed for this is what the problem is, and this is why it's doing it. If you, I had this talk with my girlfriend. I'm like, if you explain to me why you're doing something, and you just tell me why you're doing it, I won't question why you're doing it, because you've explained it to me, and I understand why you're doing it.
Yeah.
That's all it is in its communication. But you know what? In the medical field, especially now, you don't always have the time for that, to take the time for that communication.
You hit the nail, and that's in any business, but particularly in healthcare.
Yeah.
You have to have time, and unfortunately, healthcare is still a business, and I can speak to Pete and Jay for 45 minutes to an hour, and my reimbursement would be anywhere from $18 to $43. So as a healthcare professional, you're going, I know I need 45 minutes to discuss this, but my reimbursement from your insurance plan wouldn't even pay for the support team that's standing next to me, either transcribing or dictating the treatment.
But the other thing I noticed
I have your payment right here.
Oh, you do?
But the other thing I noticed,
I'm going to take that too.
the other thing I noticed is that your office has always been good with the follow-up part. So if you don't always have time in the office, I when I went for my root canal, I got after I went for the initial appointment, I got like a 5-page letter explaining everything, and I actually took the time to read it.
Yes. That's the exception to the rule.
Yeah.
Most people just look at the
Just
front
check the
page,
box.
check
Boom,
a
boom, boom.
picture,
Yeah, okay.
and say, okay.
But I like to know what's maybe I'm rare advocating for my own healthcare, but I like to know, at least have a clue what's going on. So when I go back, if I have a pointed question based upon all the information that I got, I'll say, I'll ask a pointed question, and you have time to answer that in the short time you have.
I think you in healthcare in particular, you're looking for ways to be cost effective and more efficient. And probably now this is my 30th year just doing what I call a treatment plan letter. So I may not have 45 minutes to discuss everything, but you get a dictated or transcribed letter indicating what your treatment options are, what the costs are, and what I feel is the best course of action. And you hope that Mr. and Mrs. Smith read that letter, and when they come back, they're informed. I've seen this in particular with Ascent Laser Aesthetics. With non-surgical aesthetics, I get the same questions for the last 5 years every single day, so I wrote the book. I give you a booklet, and in that booklet are basically the 22 areas of non-surgical aesthetics, and it familiarizes Mr. and Mrs. Smith with the options to save, again, that time. You were busy, you're taking time from your work or your family or both, and I'm on a schedule, so I can't always spend, and I say every healthcare professional.
Not just healthcare professionals, everyone that runs a business. What's the one thing you can't get more of? It's time. So how can I do what I got to do faster, better, more efficiently? And if that means writing a book and handing that, okay, now I don't have to spend 45 minutes.
I might be able to bring that down to 15 because somebody like Pete is taking the time to read that chapter and go, oh, I don't need to ask that question. Now I understand it.
Yeah.
And I see this in the delegation to my team members. Many of the consultations, let's say, are 30 minutes in length. Roughly 20 of it is with that team member. Then I come in for the last 10 minutes and answer any more pertinent questions. And many times, the better the team member is, the more confident they are, the less time I'm spending. So that frees me up and gets them more involved.
To write more books.
Exactly.
This is Jay Pagluca. That's Dr. Kevin Coughlin of Ascent Dental. Pete Coles is behind the board. We'll be back right after this.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Bay State Dental. Comprehensive dentistry at 14 convenient locations in Springfield, Chicopee, Longmeadow, West Springfield, Belchertown, East Longmeadow, Ludlow, Northampton, Greenfield, and Wilbraham, as well as 29 Broad Street in Westfield. Bay State Dental makes it a priority to help you achieve and maintain the healthy smile you deserve. On the web at baystatedental.com.
We thank the generosity of our underwriters. For more information, please contact the Westfield State Foundation at 413-572-8646. Friday mornings is something different on 89.5 FM. It's JP's Talk About Town.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from the campus of Westfield State University. This is 89.5 FM, WSKB, Westfield.
That's another one of my favorite Chicago tunes. That
Questions 67 and 68?
Yes. Although we still don't know what those questions really are. Actually, this group, Connecticut, why do I keep saying Connecticut? Chicago Total Access. Yeah. They talk about that. And I heard them talk about it at the show we did in January. It still doesn't make sense to me why it's question whatever.
67 and 68.
Yeah. So it's something to do, I think it's something to do with a government form somewhere. Oh. So now I got to listen to all the words to the song and see what they were really singing about. But that is one of my favorite horn tunes right there. So you're going to hear that Friday nights at Westfield Technical Academy.
What time does it start?
7:30.
7:30.
Right there. It says
Live
it right
and in
there.
color.
Yeah.
Oh, make me look bad, huh?
Well, they
Or
can't see
sound
that.
bad.
No,
They
I
can't
just
see
want to
that on
make you.
TV.
I just want to make you look
Well,
there.
for the
that's all.
listeners, it's really not even there. You'll have to trust me.
Well, neither am I, for those who are wondering. This past weekend, I was out to meet some folks in New York. I was out at Daryl's house. Anybody that knows what that is, Daryl Hall, and it wasn't his house, it was his
Originally
club that
it
they
was
call here.
Originally it was
Yeah.
his house,
Yeah.
and then it got to be so popular that he bought a nightclub close to his house and made it Daryl's house.
Well,
This is Hall & Oates?
yes, Hall & Oates.
yeah.
Really?
Well,
I never knew that.
yeah. Well,
It's not far away either.
He lives just in Connecticut. He lives in the Litchfield Hills, and he has a big old farm. And he built a barn. He loves to restore old colonial style buildings. So he built a studio in the barn. That became his little TV show. He goes, let's bring some friends over. We'll jam and we'll put it on the air. You know,
He
and
was a webcast. Yeah.
Yes. Then that ended up, MTV ended up picking it up, became hugely popular, and he's going, well, I'd love to invite some friends over, but it was too small for that. So he ended up buying a little club, a little existing club, and rehabbed it.
Renovated,
did a really
yeah.
nice job, really nice sound system, full bar, full restaurant. And I had a chance to eat there Saturday night. It's in Pawling, New York, and it was really a cool little place. So I'm talking with the people that I met there, and one of them is an on-air DJ down in Philadelphia, and she's like, what station are you on? And we're talking about the little college thing that we do here, and she pulls it up, and they see an empty studio. And I go, that's me behind the tower. I'm like Carlton, your doorman. You know, you see my hand come out every now and then. So,
Jay likes to hide.
So I'm hiding. Yeah, and that's true because the camera's at the other side of the tower.
Even on his
there.
Friday show, he likes to hide.
Wow.
Yeah. It's Tuesday. Friday's my other show.
Okay. And the restaurant was great.
It's worth looking up. If you see a band you like out there, it's worth it.
Or every Sunday they have a jazz brunch.
Yeah, it's really a cool thing.
How long does it take from
About
Westfield?
2.5 hours from here. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
the name of the restaurant is?
Daryl's house.
Place.
Daryl's
house, yeah.
Yeah, right on Route 22 in Pauling. But
It is a cool place. It's like going to the House of Blues for the jazz brunch for the House of Blues when they have them all over the country.
Yeah.
We did that down in Myrtle Beach, and we had such a good time. It's so much fun because they're playing great jazz, great music, and you're having great food and just hanging out and talking, and it's just a lot of fun.
And of course, I'm a fan of, as I do PA and lighting and stuff like that. They still have all the video, the video shows, the TV shows they do are taped there. And so I got a chance to see the behind the scenes stuff. Mm-hmm. So I'm just fascinated by all this. The guy that runs the techs all through the building is a Grammy Award winning. He's been on tour with many big acts, including, of course, Hall & Oates back in the day. And Peter will like this. I'm sitting behind the soundboard as for the first few tunes before I had to leave, and I noticed the soundboard is
It's an X32, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It's a Behringer.
Yes, I win.
Yeah, well, high-end Behringer X32. But, yeah.
Kenny's giving me the
Now,
stink
where
eye.
do they get that kind of training? Is that vocational, or is that on the job?
Back in the day, you kind of learned by doing.
Throwing in, yeah.
Yeah. You raised your hand, I want to be a roadie. And then you watched, like I do, still do. I watched over the shoulder of guys that know what they're doing and learn that way. You learn on the job. Now, today you can go and get a little bit more formal training, but there is nothing like looking over the shoulder and being a roadie, then a tech, just like our career started, right?
Yeah.
You learn by watching guys that know what they're doing, and gals.
Is
That's
that
how
where
I started. I started in high school. I was involved in a show. My dad was involved in auto racing, and I got hooked up with a show called Race Week, which was one of the first shows on Nesson when they launched 30 years ago. And my dad I didn't even have a driver's license. My dad used to drive me down to Enfield, Connecticut at Continental Cablevision, where they did it out of there. And then the producer parted ways with Continental, but they still had a contract to do the show. They moved it to Springfield because he was from Chicopee. And I was like his right-hand man, so I learned shooting and editing and engineering. And then the guys around there saw that I had some talent, so they started showing me stuff, the staff, and eventually I started working there. I was in my 20s. I was working for a TV
So there you
outfit, and I
go.
was like,
On the job training.
Yep.
And that's some of the best. I'll be the first to admit I was never a classroom guy. You can't sit me down and teach me theory. I get the eyes roll back in my head and I get bored real quick. But you put a screwdriver in my hand. You make me do something, and now it's going to stick in my head. And and that's been some of the most fun that I've had, and that's how I ended up with the toys that I have. And I've been lucky to have a real job that pays the bills, because anybody in this business of music and PA and lighting and sound and producing those type of shows, they're going to tell you quickly there's not a lot of money in it. You've got to do it because you love it, and then you got to have a real job. So.
Well, yeah, like, he went to go see some friends of mine that are playing a U2 tribute band. They're one of the best in the country. And they all have real jobs. They all have full-time jobs. The guy that I went to school with is a plumber. That's his full-time job. But he plays these gigs, and they just played one of the casinos in Atlantic City. That's how good they are. And, it's just, they're fun. It's fun.
In rare cases, you're lucky enough that you have a job that gives you the flexibility to do all of these things, and I am extremely lucky that I'm able to break for a few hours every week to do this job here. This is a volunteer thing, as with all of us, but it's something
Excuse
we
me,
love.
I'm volunteering my time.
Yes, you are.
I just want to say to the listeners, you won't be hearing me again. I thought for the last 3 years I was getting paid, and it was just a little slow.
Oh, wait.
Bob had promised me that there it is. Okay. I could swear Bob promised me that I was getting a big check.
He gives you coffee.
No, that was
just
the coffee. You get the coffee every week.
It was the coffee.
That's why I come in on Tuesdays. Bob
Okay.
buys me coffee.
Well, it's a damn good coffee. Okay, I feel better. The thought of doing it for nothing just rubbed me the wrong way. But if I'm getting the coffee, okay, I can do it.
Let's take one more break before the top of the hour. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Jay Pagluca. Wow, it's Tuesday without Bob Plass. He's a little under the weather this week. We have Dr. Kevin Coffin of Ascent Dental and Pete Coles behind the board. We'll be back right after this.
for their College for Kids program that runs this summer from July 8th through August 2nd. Classes are available for 4 weeks for students ages 5 through 15 in topics such as digital media, science, magic, cooking, and art. To register online for the courses, visit our website at www.westfield.ma.edu/CFK.
We thank the generosity of our underwriters. For more information, please contact the Westfield State Foundation at 413-572-8646. Friday mornings is something different on 89.5 FM. It's JP's Talk About Town.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB. Live from the campus of Westfield State University, this is 89.5 FM WSKB Westfield.
And this is JPEG Luca with, I was going to say JP's Talk About Town, but that's this Friday.
Yeah,
Which of course
you're not going to be here, right?
No, which of course you're going to have to run a best of because I'm going to be setting up for
Maybe
the show
I'll run
Friday
this show.
night. Yeah, run this show. That'll be fun. Okay, because we have no Bob.
And all the stuff will still be promotable because it'll be that night.
Yes, we have no Bob. We have no Bob Plass. The song you just heard was from Chicago, wonderful horn band of the 70s. We are going to have Chicago Total Access, a Chicago tribute band at Westfield Technical Academy this Friday night. Come on out, 7:30. It's going to be a great. And what's the other thing you can go to beforehand and get
if you want to support two causes in one night, you can go to the Bay State Noble Visiting Home Health Care. They're having their beer and wine tasting night out at Toccoa Country Club starting at 5:30. So you can get about an hour of that, and then you can zip down to the Technical Academy and still make the beginning of the shows at 7:30. So you can go for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
How long is Bay State? How long have they owned Noble Hospital? Is that now a couple of years?
It's been almost 4, I think, because we're 5. It was about a year into when we were doing our shows. Okay. We're 5 years in.
Time just does fly by, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. And I want to thank you both for having me on today. I enjoyed it, as always. And I want to wish Bob a speedy recovery. And if he can't come back, then I'll take his place. And that's
I'm writing that down. Yes. I'm writing that down. Yeah. Okay. Good.
We could see the listeners tuning out already.
But you know what? We could do the show from your place.
Yes,
you're pretty much wired for it.
Very, very close, folks.
That's going to be
very
fun.
Close.
Yeah. Not everyone. So
when your studio's done, you can host us, right?
Yes.
You'll be able to have your version.
I don't have any clients or patients. We're going to make a future in the radio. Okay.
Well, hey, you can have your version of Daryl Hall's show. You know, it's just we can have live dentistry on the air.
The
Coughlin Show.
The Coughlin Show.
Yeah. Well, I know. It's turn your head and cough.
Yes.
Okay. No.
I you know what? I was gonna give him the buzzer, but it's not even worth it.
It's not worth
Just let him die on the vine.
I'm not comfortable leaving on that note, but I know I have to. Okay.
No, you got about
turn your head and cough.
You got about 3 minutes.
Remember, I'm a dentist. Okay?
Oh no.
Hey, thank you guys very much, and we're turning it over to Ken. Correct?
Hi, Ken.
In a few minutes, yeah.
Okay.
Ken. Hey, Ken, what are you going to talk about today? You want to do a little teaser? Quick. Hey, go grab a microphone.
I have Dan Paquette from the Librarian today.
Does that really bother him that you mispronounce that?
You know, I have Bob doing it now.
I've got a couple of one-liners there I'm not going to use.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about what books he might have. You know, programs coming up for youth and adults. Before that, I do have a monologue, and I'm warning everyone right now, it is a Lulu. It might be my last one. It might get me fired.
Really?
Yeah, we're going to have to have multiple.
That's a tease right there.
We're going to have multiple disclaimers.
Who annoyed you last week?
It was a challenge that annoyed me last week.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes,
So,
you'll have to listen to find out what I'm talking about.
ladies and gentlemen, Ken does not like a challenge, apparently.
Not this one, apparently.
And I see Kathy Palmer, our good friend from the Westfield Theater Group, hiding in the corner there. Kathy, you've got a show running down there right now.
She'll talk about it.
Everlasting.
It's awesome.
It's yes.
She'll talk about it on Ken's show.
Yes, I'm sure she will. Tuck Everlasting happening down at the Women's Club or Women's Club here in Westfield. So,
well, let me pass my mic off to Ken, and thank you guys all again. I appreciate it, and I look forward to speaking with you next month.
Thank you, Dr. Coughlin. Good to see you again.
You're welcome.
This is
Thank
Jay
you.
Pagluca, and we're heading down the road for another day. Get out and see some live entertainment, specifically Chicago, this Friday night at Westfield Tech.
Support